We pray for wisdom, for strength, for courage to do what is right and good for all citizens. May we put the interests of others above our own. May we act with love for the common good. May we be good neighbors, recognizing your image in every person here. In Jesus' name, amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, going into tonight's Finance Committee agenda item. Agenda item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of April 8th, 2024, or take other necessary action.
After reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections or additions to our minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve our Finance Committee minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Aye.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melanie Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery. Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments March 30th, 2024 through May 3rd, 2024, or take other necessary action.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, the purchasing committee did meet this afternoon and we move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve our claims list. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melanie Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval to apply for, and if selected, accept the 2024 Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act Peer Support Implementation Project Grant through the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of the Community-Oriented Policing Services, in the maximum amount of $200,000, or take other necessary action.
Chief Teehee.
Mr. Chairman and committee, this is a third time we're applying for this grant. Very important grant that we use for our peer support and mental health. We've also had the opportunity to expand that to our fire department as well. When we first applied for this grant, just a little bit of a quick background, our PTSD numbers within the police department were over 33%. Now that we're in the fourth year of this grant, having therapists on duty, those type things, and access to the mental health field, our numbers are down below 4%. So it's made a huge impact as far as our department goes. And be happy to answer any questions, but we move for approval.
Any questions for Chief?
Move for second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melanie Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of change order number 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the River Country Family Water Park renovation with Allison Landscape and Pools Company in the amount of $105,949.79 for site improvements, receive update on progress of project, and take other necessary action.
Okay.
This is Mr. Kevin Hippis.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of council. See some new faces and some old faces. So my name is Kevin Anthus. I'm the Fitness and Aquatic Facility Manager for the Muskogee Parks and Rec Department. So I have the privilege of sharing with you some updates that we are doing to our water park this evening, and then we'll explain some of those change orders as we go along through some of these slides, so we'll get to look at some pretty pictures and see the fun progress that's been going along. So if I can get this to work here. First, just wanted to point out that this River Country Water Park opened in 1999, so these are some nice aerial views of both our kiddie pool side and then the main entrance side as well. So If the pictures look dated there, that's because they are. So wanted to talk about some of the things that we're doing here. Specifically, this is a close-up view of one of the big problems that we were addressing with this project is that the deck and the pool shell were moving against each other and causing a lot of tile to separate and caused a lot of maintenance issues for us. So this happened on all of the edges of the pools, all the way around the kiddie pool and main pool, where they cut out the old deck and put in a coping, and then also installed new tile. So that's a close-up where they had started cutting that away and installing new rebar. This is some pictures of repairs that were done to the rivers. There were definitely some curves around the outside edges that needed repair and were cut away and re-poured with shotcrete. More of the same pictures of before on the river there. That whole wall on the left side was replaced, and then a lot of the paint and maybe some concrete patches coming up right there on the stairs were repaired. So this is an after picture. You can see nice, pretty blue new river that we have water in now and is moving and flowing presently. Another change that we did was the painted surface at the main pool. We took away the zero level entry painted surface and went and installed a life floor, which is a padded tile. This is going to be a much more safe zero level entry, slip resistant, and slightly padded. You know, if we have little kids getting a little bit too fast, that'll be really a new safe feature for us at our water park. Main pool resurfacing, just some pictures of before after they kind of tore out some of the surfacing. They will be pouring plaster this week. That's kind of like right towards the end of our project here. Underneath is the slide. Underneath the slide pit and also the slide splashdown, they did some repairs on the valves in between some of these drive motors that were kind of old and rusted. So new butterfly valves, new hardware installed on those as well. This is kind of our new tile edge that's going to be black tile with black grout and a coping, which is that top edge between the deck and the tile. Is what that was new information to me. I got to learn when we were going through this project. Not part of my everyday vocabulary. This is just before on the kiddie pool. Kind of see some of the changes of the whole pool there. There was one of the change orders that we're going to discuss here is the leak that was located during the renovation. That was not kind of one of those unforeseen items. So this had a leak detection company come out, locate it, mark it, and then the on-site contractor had to go through and kind of find it, locate it, patch and repair, and that's what you're seeing there in those pictures where they cut away the concrete and improve that. And then here's some nice aerial pictures that we had somebody was able to get us the life floor install, both on the kiddie pool there, and then there's the main pool as well. So you have that nice kind of digital pattern almost on those triangles on the life floor. And again, this is rough concrete that will be poured with plaster this week. And then there's just a nice aerial view of the whole park. So to touch base on some of these change orders that we're looking at here, the first one, number 0, there is a discrepancy to the percentage of the plans. This has been submitted to the legal department and is going through that. It might be more appropriate. I mean, I can answer questions potentially, or it might be more appropriate to do in an executive session. I'll let the manager help guide me on that if we have any questions there. But then the others are some of the things you already saw. We get a credit for underneath the slide. They did not do a repair under there that they thought was going to be necessary, but after getting in there, determined it wasn't. So we got a credit there. Some other additional mechanical needs, and then that leak detection that I mentioned. So almost a wash on those, but kind of the biggest chunk and part of this is that discrepancy that I mentioned at first there. But we're going to have a nice new, almost brand new park. The pools will all last a whole lot longer. They've been around for 25 years now, so I think all the improvements that we're doing here are really, really good for us and going to have a safe pool as well. So staff would recommend approval, and excuse me, approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do Do we have any questions for Kevin?
Yeah, when you talk about a discrepancy, are we allowed to talk about it in here, since you said something about the same?
Yeah, we can talk really briefly. I'll give you a summary, and if I get a little bit too off base, Mark and Kevin will correct me, but the design didn't match what the actual work needed to be done. And so we went and asked the contractor to go ahead and do the work that needed to be done, and we're gonna work it out with the designer about why we made that mistake and how we're gonna correct it.
Okay.
So, at the end of the day, the contractor came out and said, here's how much pool we need to fix. And we're like, yeah, that's right, that we can all see it with our eyes. And so that's the discrepancy that we're talking about.
That's a big discrepancy.
It is, and that's why we have, that's why we were taking the steps that we're taking, that we can't go into a whole lot of detail. I'll
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Other questions? You have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion?
Well, one last thing. So if we got a discrepancy and we're gonna talk about it and we're gonna take some other actions, do we need to approve this tonight? Since it's, okay.
Yeah, so this is within the budget of the overall project, so that we're not gonna have to come up with additional money, but.
Sorry, I failed to mention that
Yes.
this project was bid under budget. So that was a benefit to
The money's
us.
still there, but it is a problem that we're gonna work through with our contractors to make sure that it's addressed properly. Thank you.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melody Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hous?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Kell?
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to execute an engagement letter with Crawford and Associates, certified public accountants, to perform audit preparation and produce financial statements for the fiscal year 2024 audit, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Reed.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, Crawford Associates is our current auditor that we use for compilation. They have been doing a wonderful job on getting us caught up to our current status. So we would like to proceed with using them. We do recommend approval if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Dennis, could you speak up?
Oh, sorry.
We weren't able to hear you very well.
Sorry.
I'm older now, I can't hear.
Sorry, the new microphones. So we do recommend approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't think they heard the presentation.
Oh, they didn't hear anything? Okay.
You're fine.
Okay, sorry, so Crawford and Associates are the current auditors that we use to do compilation. They don't do the single audit, they do compilation of financial statements. They are the ones that are currently performing the audit right now. They've been doing a wonderful job on getting us caught up to our current status, and we do recommend approval. And if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Randy. Recognize.
Yes.
So this company is just preparing us for the audit, because it was Hood and Associates that did the audit.
Yes.
So they're just preparing our statements to get to Hood and
Yes.
Associates. Okay.
Any other questions? Do we get a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale? Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melody Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hous?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed? Mayor Patrick Kell?
Yes. Item number 5 passes. Item number 6, please.
Consider approval of the City of Muskogee Foundation Board of Directors appointing of Sheena Bear, replacing Aaron George, to serve a 6-year term beginning August 1, 2024, and ending July 31, 2030, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Chairman, members of the committee, this is the nominations put forward by the City of Muskogee Foundation Board. Board Chair Ren Stratton and staff member Courtney Wagler here if you have any questions. Chairman Wren is missing another meeting just to be here, which we appreciate. Thank you very much. So she's ready for me to move on, but we do, so she can get there. But for all 3 of these, those are the nominations put forward.
Thank you. Question for Mr. Miller or Chairman Stratton. We have a motion.
Move for approval. A second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melody Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Item number 6 passes. Item number 7, please.
Consider approval of the City of Muskogee Foundation Board of Directors appointing of John Hayes, replacing James Scully, to serve a 6-year term beginning August 1, 2024, and ending July 31, 2030, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
This is the recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval. A second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melody Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Item number 7 passes. Item number 8, please.
Consider approval of the City of Muskogee Foundation Board of Directors appointing of Kimberly Williams, replacing Jerry Stoudemire, to serve a 6-year term beginning August 1, 2024, and ending July 31, 2030, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, once again, this is the recommendation, and happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melody Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Item number 8 passes, and that will be our final item for the Finance Committee.
Welcome to tonight's Public Works Committee meeting for May 13th, 2024. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of March 11, 2024, and Public Works Committee minutes of April 8, 2024, or take other necessary action.
We all had a chance to review the minutes. Is there any recommendations for amendments, or do I have a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melody Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Item number 2, we are striking. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of amended City Council Policy 3-6-7, collective bargaining, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Z.
Chairman, members of the committee, council directed staff to amend City Council Policy 3-6-7 to allow staff to streamline the negotiation process by removing further as negotiations continue, any subsequent offers or counteroffers shall be approved by council prior to submission to the respective collective bargaining unit. Council will provide initial direction and allow staff to negotiate within those parameters. And staff recommends approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Z. Do we have any questions for Ms. Z?
So, it looks like A, section line item 3 says the further as negotiations. What do we benefit by taking that out?
So when we did the negotiations last time, we were having them come back every time before they could even renegotiate. This one, we said the parameters, they could within this and this, they could do an offer with having the 2 meetings a month. It delayed negotiations several weeks with each of our unions. The council's still providing direction of what we would like to see them go. It's just giving them more leeway so they're not waiting on us.
So this way it comes to a point and bring it back to us a vote on?
Correct.
Okay.
Or to discuss further.
All final collective bargaining agreements have to be approved by the council.
No, that's what I was saying.
Yes.
I just make sure I wasn't excluded from that.
You'll get a
I haven't been here 4 years.
You'll get a vote on that, absolutely.
All right.
Any further questions, you can entertain a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
I have a motion, a second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melody Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
No.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2988 for the Community Development Block Grant Small Cities, contract number 18265, CDBG-SC21 for water line repairs in the amount of $288,333 to take other necessary action.
Mr. King?
Good evening, Chairman and Committee. So in order to proceed with the CDBG SC, so they call it shorthand, 2021 project to repair water lines, the request to release of funds must be completed, and in order to do that piece, we have to submit what's called a Section 3 plan. The Section 3 plan is a commitment by the city to serve low-income persons and businesses in consideration of the project with those within the project area. The Section 3 plan was signed by former Mayor Marlon Coleman with the intent of having this resolution adopted by City Council before his term ended. However, with the change of leadership after adoption, Mayor Patrick Cale in his place now shall be designated as the Equal Opportunity Officer in his capacity as the chief elected official for the city of Muskogee, and will re-sign the attached Section 3 plan. So this is just kind of a formality step we have to go through since there was a change of leadership.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Move for approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second. If no further discussion, roll call.
Tom Martindale?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melody Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hous?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Cale?
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval of the final plat of the ACT MD addition consisting of 2 lots on 5 acres located on Hancock Street, west of Folks Lane, or take other necessary action.
Mr. King?
So this property is located on Hancock and west of Foltz Lane. So if you guys know where the new Warrior Edition is going, the Cherokee Housing Project, if you go just maybe a quarter of a mile east, there's a big vacant piece of land, and that's where this plat is taking place. So the property owner is going to purchase this 5-acre lot. It is split zoned, single-family residential on the north half, and C2 general commercial on the bottom half. And so to take advantage of this very weird zoning situation, they are going to build a single-family residence on the back half and a commercial dog grooming business on the front half, which is an allowable use in both of those zoning districts. The applicant will be required to extend sewer to service the new lots, so those will be private sewer lines. So when this originally went to the subdivision review committee on March 26th, they were approved with certain conditions, and the conditions were that a preliminary plat had to be revised to show a fire hydrant in the southwest corner and show that the sewer lines were to be 8 inches. Those conditions were met, and the preliminary plat was approved by the planning commission, and so the final plat is now before City Council, or Public Works Committee and the City Council to approve. And so with nothing else to discuss on this item, I'll be happy to take any questions, and the staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. King. Any questions for Mr. King?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If no further discussion, roll call, please.
Tom Martindale? Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melody Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hous?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Cale?
Yes.
Item number 5 passes. Item number 6, please.
Receive City of Muskogee Annual Phase 2 Stormwater Report Summary for permitted MS4s submitted to ODEQ April 25th, 2024, and take other necessary action.
Mr. Rigby?
Yes, so this is an annual report to ODEQ, and our goal in stormwater is to reduce the pollution of Muskogee's waterways and water bodies. And for a brief presentation here, I'm going to introduce Ms. Abby Wright, who is over our environmental pretreatment and stormwater, and she'll go over a presentation.
Hello. A brief presentation over our stormwater annual report. We submitted April 25th this year. So we have requirements for our permit for the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality, and we're supposed to prepare a plan to prevent pollutants from entering into our storm drains. This plan includes 6 minimum control measures with best management practices to reduce pollution. The 6 minimum control measures are public education and involvement, industrial stormwater runoff control, which is not applicable to Muskogee, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site stormwater runoff control, post-construction management, new development and redevelopment, and pollution prevention and good housekeeping for MS4 operations. MS4 stands for multiple separate storm sewer systems. So public education, last year we educated the public about our program. We had a stormwater booth at our home and garden show. We also have 2 displays that are continuously on display at City Hall and the Martin Luther King Jr. Center. And we have Facebook posts about stormwater funded events that citizens could participate in. Public involvement, there was multiple public involvement activities last year. The Azalea cleanup being one of them, 2 household pollutant collection events, and recycling at the Recycle Center. I have some pictures of the Azalea cleanup from last year. I think that's the Rotary Club and a group from Whitting Hill. We had 1,214 volunteers participate in it. We also do household pollutant collection events. These are events where we take household chemicals, automotive fluids, anything that you wouldn't throw in the trash can, we take that. We also take electronics and tires. So the Recycle Center, we had 19,696 residents recycle materials. We collect cardboard, number 1 and 2 plastics, aluminum and tin, glass, and waste oil. So another part of our program, we're supposed to try to mitigate illicit discharges, which is anything that shouldn't go down a storm drain. So we had 75 reported complaints last year. Examples of illicit discharges include chemicals and oils, illegal dumping, illegal connection, sewer line or manhole bypasses, grass clippings in the street, or repairing or replacing sewer lines. Another part of our program is to have an illicit discharge detection and elimination program, which requires dry weather field screening, where we go around and look at outfalls and in dry weather and make sure there's not any liquid coming out of them. If you see that green picture, that would not be good. We'd have to trace that up and try to figure out. That wasn't from Muskogee, but
Thank you for clarifying. Great to know.
We look for stuff during dry weather to see if there's any pollutants getting into our system. So that's the purpose of that. For construction runoff site control, city personnel complete 385 construction inspections last year. I've got a good inspector, and she's really good in being on top of making sure the construction sites have their erosion control up. Mud or dirt or chemicals that leave a construction site can fill or contaminate storm drains and pipes into their creeks. Post-construction management is part of the program that requires any best management practice to be put in place to be inspected after the project is complete. This requires reviewing our ordinances to promote low-impact development or green infrastructure. Examples of green infrastructure and low-impact development include rain gardens, green roofs, pervious pavement, and bioswales. There's some pictures of examples from Tulsa. We're still planning on doing the pervious pavement at the Public Works break room area. So we have a plan to put some in. Pollution prevention and good housekeeping. The major part of the plan is to try to keep city work areas clean too, and streets. So street sweep, we had a total of 1,859 curb miles swept last year. We also cleaned and maintained storm drain and drainage channels. There was 12,003 miles cleaned. The litter crew picked up 3,200 bags of trash, and I didn't have a number there, but we do city facility inspections to make sure that they're in compliance with the requirements. And then we're also required to have a total maximum daily load program. This is a new requirement. We have to update our stormwater management plan to include updated best management practices. It requires a total maximum daily load for impaired water bodies. The Arkansas and Cootie Creek are impaired for bacteria. So next year, we're going to have to implement a water quality monitoring program by 2025, by next year. And we have a third-party contractor that helps us with that stuff as well. And that's it. Thank you. Yes, I'll take any questions.
Questions from Mrs. Rowe?
Thank you, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. No action is needed on this item. Thank you. Item number 7, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2981, authorizing the continuation of the account fund for the city of Muskogee entitled Solid Waste Improvements, and designating the manner in which said account shall be operated for the upcoming fiscal year 2024-2025, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Rigby?
Yes, this is a general housekeeping item that we do every year. Basically, what this does is it sets $2.50 from each solid waste account to be put back into an account for sanitation so that we can purchase the things like trucks, polycarts, dumpsters, and make the maintenance, repairs, and improvements needed to continue to have a good sanitation system here in the city of Muskogee. And we recommend approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Rigby? Second. I have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melody Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hous?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale?
Yes.
Item number 7 passes. Item 8, please.
Consider approval to accept ODEQ permit number SL 00051240028 for the construction of 1,623 linear feet of 8-inch PVC sanitary sewer line, plus all the appurtenances, to serve the Green Country Behavioral Health Sewer Line Extension, Muskogee County, Oklahoma, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Rigby?
Yes, so Green Country is constructing a new facility that will need a sewer line to serve them. And so they will install this sewer line and we will inspect it. And the agenda item here is to accept their ODEQ permit, which is a necessity for when a line may enter public use. So by us accepting that, once we inspect it after they've completed work, we make sure it's up to our standards. We can bring that into our maintenance system and allow other residents to hook onto it. And this is a good thing for the city. This is something that staff does recommend approval of, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melody Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hous?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale?
Yes.
Item number 8 passes. Item 9, please.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to amend the Muskogee Water System Maintenance Contract and Street Repair Contract between the City of Muskogee and Cook Consulting LLC by increasing the not-to-exceed limit to $675,000 for the remaining fiscal year from the original amount of $575,000, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Rigby?
Yes, so this agenda item is just to increase the not-to-exceed amount by that $100,000. So what this contract is it is our emergency water leak and hydrant repair contract. So we use them for emergencies, very difficult to fix issues, and after-hours calls. And it also helps us stay on top of our fire hydrant maintenance to make sure that we're providing that service to the fire department, to the citizens that require it. This is a budget-neutral transaction, so this was money budgeted in the MMA account, and we have the same agreement with a separate contractor for the sewer side of things. That sewer side has come in under budget, well under budget this year, and the water side is nearing its not-to-exceed amount. So to work with the council to get that not-to-exceed amount raised would be beneficial for us finishing out the year. And we do recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Rigby.
I have a question. Yes. How much under was the sewer?
Well, the year is still going, but it was about 50% of its total fund. So that total fund was less than this one. It was $400,000, and it was at around $200,000 at the time of this agenda item.
Any other questions for Mr. Rigby?
So is, like again, I haven't been here in 4 years, so I'm asking. So this contract is an outsourced, does our city still do water lines or sewer lines? Do we still repair those, or is this like in lieu of?
No, we still do. So there's a couple of reasons we took this contract on. One, it's really hard to find qualified employees right now, so we were running into some staffing issues. The other thing is we were having so many emergencies at night, we were working our employees close to the amount where we're not supposed to work them past, and we were having issues having a full staff there that day because they were out all night. So this is a supplement to our in-house services.
They seem to be doing a good job.
Yes, it's been a great help since this has been in place.
I move for approval.
Have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Melanie Cranford,
Yes.
C.B. Gable,
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery,
Yes.
Tracy Hoops,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Item number 9 passes. Item 10, please.
Consider approval for final payment in the amount of $77,999.19 to Roscon LLC for completion of the Southeast Zone Mill and Overlay Project number 2023027, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Rigney.
Yes, so as with all our final pays for the CIP roadwork, I have a presentation. I'm going to go into a little more detail since we have some new faces on council. So here's a map of the southeast zone and what we are intending to do and what we have done. So what we're talking about today are the blue streets and the red streets as indicated on this map, and we will talk about the green streets briefly later on. So a little bit of overview. This is how our streets set up by zone. So you can see that the southeast zone does have the most mileage of streets. So this is center line miles of all streets in the city of Muskogee. We have 310 miles. About 240 of those are residential miles, and the CIP is focused on those residential streets. So the CIP, that street project that we've done, is something the city's never been able to do before, and we're very excited about it, and we want to bring a lot of attention to it. So our goal is to most effectively use the allotted funds to improve as many streets as possible. So the main goal of this is to get the streets back to a condition where we can maintain them adequately with internal forces. So what we've said before is it's kind of a shot of adrenaline to our street maintenance department. So I want to briefly talk about construction or reconstruction versus maintenance. This is a maintenance-based project, and that lets our dollars go a lot further. So construction or reconstruction is removing the sub-base base and road surface and building it back from the ground up. This is typically several $1 million per mile, and if we were to reconstruct streets with this CIP money, we've only got about 15 miles of road work done. So we did a maintenance project, which is overlays, mill and overlays, and micro seals. And this is a lot more cost-effective option and is more than adequate for many of the city streets, and we have that information backed up by our pavement condition index. This has allowed us to do over 104 miles of city street rehab at the completion of all the current projects that we're working on right now. So with that being said, sometimes maintenance is not the perfect solution for some of the road problems that we have, and an example I'd like to point out is on Cherokee Street. So we had 42,972 square yards worth of rehab on Cherokee Street. A small portion of that did have some sub-base issues, and even with those sub-base issues accounted for, we had a 99.4% success rate on that street alone. These sub-base issues are not the responsibility of the contractor, and therefore it shouldn't impact the final pay that we're considering for approval tonight. The city is working to correct these issues, and these are caused by the soil composition below the street surface. We do try to anticipate these prior to the construction work taking place, but that's not always possible, as they're not always able to be seen until they have had repaving done and be able to show their head again. So what is a mill and overlay? It's the process of milling down the asphalt or removing it and overlaying it or replacing it with new asphalt. This is done when a street is below average condition and is past the point of a micro seal prolonging its life. It's milled down and repaved. Typically, you take 2 inches off and put 2 inches back. So here is an example on the left side. You'll see what it looks like after a mill has gone over it, and then the right side is yet to be milled. Here's the streets that we did the mill and overlay on in the southeast zone. You'll see that there is 6 of them, which is not a very high quantity compared to our last couple of zone projects, but these were very long runs of streets. And due to the type of streets in the southeast zone, a micro seal is going to be a lot more effective on a lot of them. So here's that map again. After we kind of discussed what we were talking about, you can see those long runs there in the red and blue. And here's kind of how the funding breaks down for the southeast zone. This total contract amount was $1.6 million, but it did come in under budget, and it's in the $1.5 million area. So that money that we did not spend in this contract will go back into the southeast zone into another form of rehab. So here's Cherokee Street before the rehabilitation, and you can see it's in disrepair. And here it is after. But you'll notice on the far right picture, I did put a photo of some alligator cracking. That's what I wanted to show as the subbase failures that I mentioned earlier. That's what happens when the soil is soft underneath it, and there's no way for us to know. That's not on the contractor. They're just responsible for milling and repaving. So what we'll do is we will identify those spots. We'll go check these out, dig them out, put a better base in there, and then repave over the top of it. And that is a cost-effective way to fix these roads without doing an entire reconstruction. We reconstruct the areas that need it, and we rehab the areas that just need rehabilitation. So moving on to Sally Street, here's a before and an after. Gulick Street before and Gulick Street after. And Augusta Street before and Augusta Street after. So I will briefly talk about the rest of the work we're going to do in the southeast zone, so everybody can be aware. We do have a significant amount of micro seal that's yet to come, and that's a thin layer of aggregate and oil that's laid over a street in average to above average condition, and that elongates the life of the street and provides a new driving surface. And here is an image of what that will look like, and these are scheduled to be done this summer. And here's a list of the streets that will be getting that. We'll be happy to share this after. Here's the map again. And wanted to have a special thank you for council's present and past to help make the CIP happen, the foundation for their match, the Street Advisory Commission for their input on getting these streets done, and the people in Muskogee who voted for this project. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to sound real petty after all that. They'll ever put lines on those streets?
Well, we do intend to put some lines on them. Cherokee Street, we want to get those issues fixed because they are in the center of the road, so we don't want to paint over them and dig them up and have to try and line those 2 lines up. And we do want to wait till the summer to paint. It's weather sensitive.
There are some streets that were done even in the earlier zones that haven't been striped.
Yes, we do intend to stripe those.
Go ahead.
I've just got an observation. I'm very proud of the council that got the ball rolling on this CIP street program. It's a big deal. Yes. And they worked really hard on pushing that through and trying to make that happen. I'm very proud of the quality of work that's been performed on these neighborhood streets. How many miles have we done?
At the completion of the micro seal for the southeast zone, which will be later this summer, we'll be at over 104 miles.
You know, overall, the quality has been remarkable, I think, and I've driven around just looking. A while back, we had a citizen come up and had some concerns about some streets, or a street in the southeast zone, I believe. And I think the issue was, and it happens, there was some sub-base problems prior to us even, you know, they were there before and hidden or unseen. And I know that you and Mr. Stewart took him out, I believe.
We offered, but we haven't had that on the schedule yet.
Okay. Has he accepted?
At the time I spoke to him, he said he would reach out.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys offering, and I hope he takes you up on your offer. But there's going to be problems like that when you're doing 100-mile plus of streets. And I take it that if he contacts you, you'll take him out and show him what you're gonna do or what you've done or whatever.
Yes,
But
sir.
thank you very much. We're proud of the street department, and certainly proud of the past and present councils.
Thank you.
Well, and you always hear people talk negative about our streets in Muskogee. It's all your fault, Avery. But 12 years ago, when I got on city council, the budget was right around $300,000 to $400,000 to maintain our streets, which, as we all know, that doesn't maintain one street in Muskogee. And I appreciate everybody that pushed forward and got stuff rolling to do that, because what's the budget now for that? Is it like?
So the CIP street project is $24 million, thanks to the vote of the people and the City of Muskogee Foundation. And that's why Avery very rightfully said it's kind of like a shot of adrenaline, because we went from being well underfunded to being able to play catch up. So that's a very good thing.
And you just can't do that over a weekend. And we went from $300,000 to $400,000 to $26 million. That's a big difference. So,
Dan, if you'll remember, that wasn't our street budget. That was our pothole budget.
yeah. And seriously, we had trucks running a little shovels shoveling it in. And we actually got a budget to go to do the streets here. And I want to still gripe sometimes, but at least I'm proud of y'all.
Thank you.
We need to move for approval.
Yes, please.
Make a motion to move for approval.
So a motion, second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melanie Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Goose?
Yes.
Jamie Stout? Yes. Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Kell?
Yes.
Item 10 passes. Item 11, please.
Consider approval to authorize the removal of the traffic signal at Gibson and North J Streets, replacing with a four-way stop, pending the results of a traffic engineering study, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Rigney?
Yes, so there is a span wire traffic signal near Irving Elementary School. That traffic signal was put in to deal with some of the traffic issues and students walking to school, and that was done several years ago. That light has become antiquated, and right now it's going through some technical difficulties. With less and less children walking to school and more virtual days, the need for that stoplight has decreased. And right now, we have a traffic engineering consultant doing a study to see if that signal is warranted. And the alternative to having that traffic signal in there is a four-way stop with LED stop signs, which will still control traffic the same way and allow us to not spend our maintenance budget on repairing this light. This light's getting to the point of being past repair, and if you were to put in a new traffic signal, it would be very expensive in that location. So the way that this is written, we will go with the results of our traffic engineering study, but we are fairly confident, very confident, I should say, that it will not warrant a stoplight and will warrant a four-way stop. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Since this directly affects it, I don't gain anything by this because I work for a school district and student safety is kind of my deal. They let me do that every once in a while. Is it possible if we go to a four-way stop sign that we can do a raised walkway, the platform, so if kids are walking away, the cars can see them like they do in some cities? I know can we look into that?
Yes.
Better question, better way of
Yes.
saying that? Can we look at that to see if we can possibly do that little raised walkway for the kids to go walk across there? And it also kind of makes a little speed bump.
Yeah.
And the reason, and I like that idea, because that light causes more problems than I think it helps over there. So that's all I have. I just think that if we do go to the stop signs, I would like to see if it's feasible to do a raised walkway for the kids to get that extra 4 to 6 inches for them to be seen as they walk across the street. There's only probably about 15 kids, but 15 kids' lives matter.
Yes, sir. Any further discussion?
Second.
Have an approval, I have a motion and a second. No further discussion, roll call, please.
Tom Martindale?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melanie Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery? Cranmer.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout. Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Item 11 passes. Item 12, please.
Consider approval to nominate and appoint Councilmember Dan Hall as Vice Chair of the Public Works Committee or take other necessary action.
Mayor Kelly.
It's my pleasure to nominate my peer, Dan Hall, as Vice Chair of the Public Works Committee, and I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You've been gone for 4 years, you come back, we're going to punish you.
Let's put him to work.
No further discussion.
Discussion, roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melanie Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Item 12 passes. We do have one citizen signed up to speak. When I call your name, come up to the podium, just give us your name. You'll have 3 minutes. Don, go.
Yes, I live at 900 Golf Lane here in Phoenix Village. I live right directly west of the Bill Pool Park on Golf, and I've been noticing I've been getting a lot of four-wheelers, motorcycles, golf carts, bicycles, and foot traffic. They take my driveway and cross my yard because there's a concrete curb around the park. They don't have access to get up there. And I'm really getting tired of, people coming across my yard. And I put a no trespassing sign there. It don't seem to help. But if I may suggest, maybe put a short fence that with sticks up about 2 feet with steel post with a cable or chain. Smart Computer a company over there on York has the same type thing around their parking lot. If I could suggest that, put between my privacy fence and out to the street, that would probably solve the problem. Thank you.
That concludes tonight's Public Works meeting.
Welcome, everybody, to tonight's special call city council meeting of May 13th, 2024. Roll call.
Mayor Patrick Kell.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Shirley Hilton Flannery. C.B. Abel.
Here.
Melody Cranford.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Tom Martindale.
Here.
Mayor, before we start this, I need to ask a question. Would it be possible, I'd like to make a motion that we move item line 3 above 2, just to put it out of order for this meeting, so we can talk about it. I don't know if it had a bearing on 2 or not, the budget or not, so I want to make sure that we talked about it before we voted on the budget, if it did have a...
So, Mr. Hall, we will consider that during item number 1.
Okay.
But I'll leave it to your preference for your motion, but we will consider that topic as part of the overall budget in the public hearing in item number 1.
Item number 1, please.
Hold a public hearing to discuss the City of Muskogee budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 and take other necessary action.
We will now open the public hearing. Mr. Miller.
Just, has everyone signed up to speak from the public? Okay, thank you very much. Forgive me for starting off a little slowly there, but I want to make sure that before I jump in, that we've had our public hearing begun. This is an exciting time of year. This is where we get to plan ahead for what we want to do and look ahead to how we can make our city better over the next 12 months or so. And so we've been working on this for several months. The staff started in February. We've had discussions with council in March and April, including the council retreat, where we spent several hours going through the budget. And the council set their expectations. They said, please present us a balanced budget, and we can discuss any changes and talk about the rationale for those changes. And then we'll talk through some of the things, of course, that are the same. And so some of those things that we do, that we don't talk a lot about, but we do provide water to everyone's house. We do provide sewer services and pick up the trash every day. Our police and fire provide public safety every day. So we do all these things. We don't spend a lot of time talking about them during the budget process because they're very similar year to year, especially in our general fund. We will talk about them some, but I didn't want to skip over them without acknowledging the vast amount of employees and the importance of the work that we do there. But we also do a whole lot of things that other cities don't do. This is a list. Any one of these projects, other communities would highlight as maybe the biggest thing that they have going on at any one given time. But we're doing all these at once on top of our regular daily operations. We've started construction or design for construction of a new sewer plant that's already fully funded by the city council. We're working on TIF projects to bring in 800 plus jobs and $1 billion worth of industrial development sites on city-owned property, and those are projects that we're in the middle of right now. The largest street projects in history, as Mr. Ridney outlined just shortly. Also looking to the future for the first GO bond in 50 years. A new kind of park, the Grandview Adventure Park, that is something we've never seen before in Muskogee. Remodeling our swim fitness center. You also heard about the water park refurbishment that's going on. So we're doing all these things on top of the daily things that we do as a city, and we're able to do that because we have a really good team. So please look around the room. We've got a lot of department heads here. Our budget team is here. They put a lot of work into this between February and now, and the council's put a lot of work that the public probably doesn't see, getting us to where we are today, which is a 200-page budget book that you have in your packet. And this is the summary that I'm going to try to go through as quickly as possible, but also to cover in detail the sort of things that we need to cover as we consider the budget. And so as we do consider the budget, one of the very first things that we look at is just trying to make sure we keep our revenues above our expenses. We did have a time in our history that we were not doing that on an annual basis. As we all know, that is not sustainable, and the council has put some guardrails in place that we're very happy about that help keep us on a good fiscal road moving forward. As we put together our budget highlights, we look through these 6 items, and we'll go through them in order as we try and cover the things that are important to us as a city. Those are the strategic initiatives that the council has voted on and said this is where we want to spend an extra dollar if we have an extra dollar. And so these are high priorities within our budget, including employee morale, public safety, and police and fire. So as we get back to the budget, our foundation of the budget is making sure that we have basically a good savings account. And the best practice is to have 20 to 30% of the general fund in your savings account. It's only used in emergencies. We've had, in the last 5 to 6 years, I think we've had 4, at least, federally declared emergencies, so we hope we never have a big one. But we have built that up into our best practice range based off of the philosophy that the council has implemented. And so it's important as we put our budget together that we use these budget principles, that we don't budget our reserves year over year. We use those only for emergencies. We don't budget our carryover until we get to our special projects fund. So we'll talk about that as we go through. When we look at our budget, we do have several different kinds of funds. The general fund here is highlighted in green because it is a fund that we can use for any governmental purpose. And so that being said, it has a lot of demands on it. Anything that we can do as a city, we can use general fund money for. But it also means that we when we talk about our priorities, that's where we are able to fund those priorities as well as the general fund. We do have other kinds of funds, sales tax funds that are dedicated for certain uses, voter-approved funds, council-approved funds, enterprise funds. We do have some transfers that we're going to talk about as well. Those are an important part of our budget. Sometimes we take money from one pocket and then we designate it for a specific purpose through the transfer. So as we go through, again, like I said, we've got a budget book that's almost 200 pages long. We're going to hit some of the highlights. As we look on the slide, you'll see the number, the page number, and when you look in your packet, it'll be we do have the numbering system, which can be maybe confusing, so it won't tell you the bottom right number if you're following along in your booklet is going to be the same as the page number on the slide. So Page 5 of our budget book really talks about the big picture. Here are the main funds and the balances and what we're trying to do moving forward. We want to talk, as we look ahead, about the general fund in particular and where that money comes from, because it's really important for us to understand that the taxpayer money, again, primarily comes from the taxpayers. Almost 58% comes in through our sales and use taxes and other taxes. And then the rest of, almost all of the rest of our budget comes from fees for services. So water, sewer, stormwater, trash collection. So those are how we get the money that goes into running the city. Where do we use the money? This is, again, in your budget book. The police and fire are right at the very top of the list, keeping the city safe. This is where we spend our general fund money. Public works, and then engineering, which is really a lot of our utilities, water and sewer. Those are, again, a huge chunk. General government is basically everything else that's not on that list, and so, including several of the transfers. And so the biggest portion of the funding, we've talked about this a little bit before, is almost 70%, almost 69% goes towards an employee salary or benefits. And this is important to notice because when we talk about our budget constraints, we're talking about people. And a lot of times we're talking about people, we're talking about a service because, as Mr. Hall talked about earlier, do we have a street department? Yes, we do. That's how we provide a lot of the services that we do. Firefighters, police officers, these are all employees that directly provide a service. And so when we talk about personnel being a big part of our expenditure, that's something that we want to highlight because that's a good thing because those people provide services. We make assumptions as we put together the budget. We are forecasting what's going to happen next year. To do that, we look at what's going on with ourselves and with other communities through the first 10 months of the fiscal year. Our sales tax, which is our biggest form of revenue, we were down about 1%. When we look across other cities about our size, they're all pretty much in that range. It's a statewide kind of trend that nobody's doing particularly great, no one's doing really terrible, but it makes it a little bit difficult. You'll see one outlier there, Shawnee's sales tax is way up. It's because they passed a new tax, not because their volume of retail activity went up. So when we look at that, we realize our assumptions. We know that sales tax is down about 1% per year. So we had our staff look at the operating budgets, the non-personnel budgets in our general fund to try and reduce the impact on services. We have them cut that by at least 2.25% to try and get to the balanced budget that you see today. That's 2.25% of a smaller portion because most of our budget is from employee compensation, but we weren't trying to affect those direct services provided by our employees. We did eliminate a couple of long vacant positions to try and help us get to where we're at with the budget. So the key takeaways, again, it's a tough year for the general fund because, and we discussed this at the retreat, anything we add means something else that we would need to subtract. Strategic fund initiatives or strategic initiatives can still be accomplished through those dedicated funds, as we talked about earlier. So as you look, the general fund is going, the budget did go up about 1% from 44.2 million to 44.6 million. But we did have some expenses that we're dealing with and that are kind of beyond our control somewhat. One, health insurance premiums, again, up almost $400,000 this year, and we know they're going to go up pretty much every year. Health costs do go up. And trying to straighten out the MRA and Civic Center operations. They started the year with the deficit. So just making sure those two things are covered are more than $570,000 worth of expenses that we had to deal with. The council made some budget cuts. They cut our community picnic budget by 3/4. And Councilor Abel had a good suggestion to combine it with another community event and work with them on making a national night out, a combination of our community picnic to try and make that one big event. And so we were able to do that and have some savings through our budget. Council also recommended that we cut our parade float budget in half and just have one float in every parade. That saved money again in our budget. We also want to talk about some transfers in our budget. We didn't highlight these because there's not significant changes, but Councilor Stout wanted us to talk about these. We did King Center, Muskogee County Transit, 911 Center, Economic Development. These are all major transfers out of our budget. The only one of the big significant changes, generally they're about the same dollar amount. You see the Civic Center, that is a bigger number due to that $135,000 that we talked about earlier. But in general, we want to acknowledge these. These are important budgets that we do plan on funding or included as we move ahead in our balanced budget this year. So we do address our strategic initiatives, and we talk about what they were briefly. I want to talk about how we address them. I guess I don't need to do a whole lot on streets because Mr. Rigney did a very good job earlier. But in particular, we are going to finish up Southeast Zone Country Club widening, US Highway 69, coordination on that expansion, and Smith Ferry Road right-of-way acquisition are all in this year's budget. We do have the new sewer plant funding for its design in the current fiscal year, or upcoming fiscal year, as well as water line and sewer line replacement, public image, the things that the council has come to expect, including some new stuff, including quarterly reports, public education, and a radio program that we're trying to find every which way we can to tell people about the good things that we're doing. Economic development, we'll talk about their budget in particular, but there's several projects that are ongoing, including urban renewal area in Shawnee and US Highway 69 for retail development that the city's advancing. Housing, we have housing incentives of more than $900,000 available as we're looking to do infill opportunities in land banking and hiring that position that's been set aside for housing and retail economic development. Public safety, fire and police capital priors are funded. We will go into detail as requested a little bit later in the presentation. Employee morale, we can, with the council's approval, look ahead to trying to increase compensation for our employees, which is important during times where retaining and recruiting employees is difficult, such as it is today. But this will primarily using those dedicated funds that we talked about earlier. General expense notes, even while we're trying to cut our general fund and our operations costs, we know that there's inflation and utility costs are going up. We are still able to do through this budget, including continuing our matching grant fund, continuing economic development at the highest level we funded it, having high levels of funding for our streets and infrastructure. And again, just a very modest, about 1% increase to our general fund budget. So that, the summary for that general fund is we've got cuts to the operations budget, just to try and get to where we can go with just a slight increase in revenue this year. That, those choices that we made have been driven by strategic initiatives and revenue and expense assumptions. We did prioritize funds by strategic initiatives. For instance, we did not cut economic development. And our conservative expense management to try to get us through the year. And we are able to do these things. More than $10 million for street projects, increased funding for water quality and water line replacements. We know that funding our facilities maintenance is important, so their operations and capital budgets are both increased. We talked about economic development, housing, and tourism we'll get to later, but the funding is increased this year. And public safety priorities are addressed through the general fund. Now, if we want to keep going through our book, on page 24, we'll talk about the Civic Center, their operational subsidy for the year would be about $300,000. Our goals are to increase the usage and stay in budget. These are the numbers that we've used in the past year, and so we're not proposing anything different there. Page 39 in your book, we'll talk about River Country Water Park. Operational revenues cover expenses, and we should again be able to open up in time for the summer season. Swim and fitness, again, operational revenues cover expenses. That's covered on page 44 in your book. CIP, covered on page 63 and following. Won't talk too much about streets again. Mr. Reedy covered that a lot. We had two items on that CIP vote. We had streets and we had other capital improvements. We did major renovations to the parking lots at the King Center. We did work with the port on a rail project that has a ribbon cutting or opening next week, so we're excited about that, and we contributed $500,000 to. We're working with industrial development at the airport as well with the port to try and develop that as an economic development site. We've allocated all our demolition dollars. You've seen the improvements out of Happock since 2019, including the new arena. We've talked about the water park and swim and fitness center. That was part of our CIP. Again, a lot of the improvements that we're able to see are through the CIP program. We have maintenance, and Depot Green was one of our projects through the CIP. Facilities improvements, over $1 million committed to maintenance projects. Public safety through our CIP, we've been able to work on the needs that they have, including equipment and vehicles. Likewise for fire. And some of these are recurring expenses, so we're not necessarily obligated all those funds. And keep in mind, this tax does go through 2025, so we haven't received all the money yet. And lastly, at 911 Center, we partnered with them. They needed some hardware and software upgrades, and we've been able to allocate those funding for that. On page 67 in your book, we would talk about our ARPA money. We've got projects underway for the raw water line assessment and the Haskell booster station. We use the rest of that money for water plant improvements, and that is City of Muskogee Foundation is also a partner on those projects. Our fire public safety initiatives, I said we talked a little bit more in detail. That budget's on page 72. This current fiscal year, they're looking at a new vehicle, improved station maintenance, new hoses and equipment and bunker gear. They did get a new fire truck this year in 2024. Out of this budget, the police, their detail budget is on page 79. For their capital outlay, they're looking at helmets, vests, rifles, and vehicles as their fiscal year priorities. The next one they want to highlight in your books on page 8. Excuse me. It's our economic development budget. It's funded from general fund and use tax. By ordinance, 60% of that $1.5 million goes into the operations account. What you see before you is kind of the breakout of what that operations account would be. The court has revised their request to this year be $500,000. It is slightly different than what we discussed at the retreat, so I want to highlight that. They have reduced that request for operations. You can see that it's less than they've gotten last year. And their funding has increased over time as the city's done a good job supporting industrial development through the years, even through using our economic development budget for pass-throughs. We have an opportunity account. That's where the other 40% of that $1.5 million goes. That's $600,000. In this year's budget, it's allocated primarily for current projects, which is the URA area in Shawnee and US Highway 69 retail development areas. We do have a request to spend some of the opportunity money, and we will process that later through the year. We do hope to apply for a City of Muskogee Foundation grant to work with us to do a retention project to add and extend a water and sewer line to an existing business. But that will require a separate vote. We wanted to put it in here as an opportunity to look at in the future to apply for a grant to help make that happen. So we do want to talk about a capital account request. They did make a capital request for $500,000. We were not able to find that in our general fund budget. I believe that there was a discussion, and I will defer to Dr. Hughes, about repurposing some housing incentive money that is in our special projects fund. And if so, this would be an appropriate time to have that discussion.
So, you know, the Porsche requested $500,000 for capital account to help with just some city expense, basically city expenses, to help kind of streamline some of the things and cut out the red tape. We've had $925,000 in our housing incentive package for quite some time now. We don't have, I know that Mayor Kell and Mr. Mel have met with some other developers. We really don't have anything that's upcoming on the horizon, but we do have some things that within the port where we're needing to have addressed. So I was recommending that we take $500,000 from that 925,000, is that correct? Take $500,000 from that account to move it over for the port to have the capital fund.
So I think that would be an appropriate use of the economic development incentive money. The discussion
Discussion too that we got when we go down the line when we have a sale of the property about being able to replace this fund too. We have money coming. It's not anything that's done, so I hate to say that when we do this, it's something that's planned in the future where we should be able to hopefully replenish this.
So if this is a course of action that the council is willing to take, I think I would suggest a motion to do this as one-time funding. And would like a vote for you all on the record if that's the will, and we can move forward in that way.
Would we do this under action item number 2 when we do the budget approval?
So ideally, we would do it here, and then we would identify any budget amendments in this agenda item, and then we would vote on them and take action, yes, in number 2. But it would be good to get the consensus as we're discussing it here, rather than we go through the whole.
This is because it's a large item for an amendment. It's just to show that the council's in agreement if we do this amendment from moving this fund. We would still have to approve the budget.
Yes.
Even if we had to move forward with another night on the budget, we could still, it's just as an amendment.
Well, so if, that's correct. So what I would say is when we get to item number 2, we would have a motion to approve the budget as amended in item 1. So if you would like to amend the proposed budget, this would be the time to make that motion.
So when would this money be transferred over? Like if we vote on it tonight, will it be tomorrow? They get it? Or?
So it's a fiscal year budget, so it would be July 1.
Okay.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second that.
We're moving to amend. We're just making the motion was to move this 500,000 to give to the board.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melody Cranford?
Yes.
C.B. Abel?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hous?
Yes.
Jamie Stout? Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale?
Yes. Motion passes.
Yes, thank you. And so when we do get to the next item, we will, an appropriate motion would be to approve the budget as amended. And so also as we go to hotel motel tax, we spent significant time on hotel motel tax at the retreat. We do project an increase of revenues, as you see here. The council at the retreat authorized and had us prepare a budget to transfer all revenue from the hotel motel tax to the tourism authority in fiscal year 2025. The 2024 funding levels for community partners to be maintained in 2025, but to be determined in the future by the tourism authority. And there was also discussion, and the council had already previously voted to move all the projected carryover in the hotel motel tax July 1, which was $455,000 to the tourism authority. There was discussion at the retreat to use $106,000 to buy the cattle tie-outs, and that was wrong. I misspoke, and so I caused some confusion. We had bought some cattle tie-outs, and the reason that was in my head is we bought some cattle tie-outs earlier in the year, and this was a separate request from the livestock show people that we would have small animal pens to allow them to host larger events. And so my apologies to the council for misspeaking. The request was for $106,000 for small animal pens, and so I wanted to make sure that that difference is noted today. And if there was if I misled someone into voting a certain way, my apologies. And that's why we wanted to take some pause here to know that we are talking about small animal pens. The budget that is prepared for you has the transfer has the city working to purchase the small animal pens with that $106,000, and has the remainder of that $455,000 being transferred to the tourism authority. I do understand that Councilor Stout wanted to discuss that further, and so this is the appropriate time.
I know we have our agenda item number 3 to rescind the motion to correct the vote that we did at the retreat. So then that would to send all $455,000 over to tourism.
So I would suggest that we do that here within the budget, and we can do it again there, but so that it's part of our budget discussion. I think this is an appropriate time to decide if we want to send the 455 or if we want to buy the small animal pens. That's really the choice. And forgive me for interrupting, Councilor Stout.
I think this is where I guess the problem that we also had at the retreat after we got done talking is that this is a carryover from last year, right?
It's a carryover from multiple years.
Yes. So And I'm sure there's some concerns that they were looking at trying to get this money available to them earlier, like pretty quick, instead of waiting till July 1. I know it's just about 40 days away or so. But they wanted to try to use this money to use it to invest in other things and try to bring some other things in, is what I understand. I think what Councilman Stout and everything, when we talked, was wanting to move the $455,000 over sooner than July 1. I think that was wanting to be the motion that we were looking at, even though we got the animal pens cleared up and the tie downs and all that kind of stuff, because that was confusing.
Sure.
I think we were trying to move that $455,000 over a little bit quicker, so they would have money to start using, to start, see if they can use it to get tourism moving and to promote some stuff.
And that was in a previous agenda item a month ago that we had directed staff to make this transfer prior to the budget retreat.
Go ahead.
My recollection was that we had a few council members kind of on a fence there, and I think you made an observation which kind of seemed to bring everybody over on the day, and your observation at that time was, hey, let's send everything with the 455 less the 106, and then this fall, when we get some monies into this account, and you know the account, I don't remember what you were saying, that at that time we would roll over the remaining, the finish of the 455. I know that there were some votes that, with your observation, kind of changed over to agree with your last statement.
Yeah. And some of those discussions after the fact, we thought we would do the 106 in the special projects fund in November for the small cattle pens, and do that in November when we do this with special projects versus now.
Okay, so you're saying we won't get the small animal pens till November?
That's when we bought the cattle ties last year.
Well,
That we're wanting to with the special projects.
Just wanted to be clear. Okay.
That would be my proposal.
So my understanding was when we had the tie-outs, because we had a conversation about that, I thought that we had a bill that we had to pay. That was kind of when it came forward that we needed this money. But that's already been done and taken care of, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The cattle tie-outs have already, this is for new things that we've not yet.
Right, so I was under the impression, because when we had that, it was supposed to be done. And that's whenever in the budget retreat, we kind of made, well, if we have to pay this bill, let's just do it from this, and then we can do this. However, if we're needing to do some small animal pens, I think doing maybe the mid-year budget review, just like when we did the cattle tie-outs, it would be appropriate for that time. Because I misunderstood during the retreat.
My apologies for that.
No, it was not that it was anything intentional, it's just.
We need a motion being implemented.
For the immediate transfer of the 455 over to Muskogee tourism.
So, may I? Sorry. So I wanted Councilor Stein, I want to address your question about the immediate. And Mr. Reed, our treasurer, is here, and I may ask him to elaborate more, because this is more his ballpark. The 455 is the estimated amount that will be available on July 1. It's not the amount we have now. That's a fluctuating amount. And so when we talk about how much carryover we have, that's been the discussion all along, is an estimated amount of carryover available on July 1. And that's why our proposal has been to say, on July 1, we will transfer that amount. It's not to, because that's how that number was derived, as an estimated number that would be available in July 1. So moving that number before July 1, number one, is not something we can do under this agenda item, because it's for the FY25 budget. But if it is something that we'd like to do, we can take up very quickly. Would probably just need to be a different number, and then on July 1, we could do a supplemental.
Okay. But I thought we still was leaving like a buffer room outside of the 455 to leave into that account to cover the rest of the expenses for the year.
So that is, That is a cash flow number that we were putting in, yes. But that is, again, I don't want to put Mr. Reed on the spot too much, but this is, again, a projection for July 1. And it happened. Yeah.
Just a second, because I'm confused, because originally, at the budget retreat, we talked about this $455,000 as if we had it, a bill was due, and we were taking right then from this money to pay that bill, is what I assumed. We talked about those cattle ties, and we had already agreed to give the tourism that money. So did I miss that whole conversation, or is that what happened? Yes.
The proposal is still to give tourism the $455,000 on July 1, which is what the council said to do. And the question before the council is, do we want to pay for $106,000 of small animal pens out of that $455,000 or not? And if I misled the count, and if the answer is no, then we just would take a motion to amend the budget as presented to remove that from the budget and leave it in the carryover number that would be available on July 1. And Ms. Stout, if we needed a different agenda item in the future to facilitate moving carryover money sooner than that, we would work on that at a separate time.
I think that was kind of the intent of item number 3, is so we could go ahead and move that.
May I address, may I speak? So do we have $561,000 in there, or do we have $455,000 in there?
So it changes every day. We get hotel motel tax revenue in. We've spent most of our hotel motel tax for the year. I don't think we have, I think our balance, well, Mr. Reed will correct me if I'm wrong, I think our balance is increasing because we've given our biggest chunk, the Tourism Authority, for instance, has gotten all of their money for the year.
The majority of the big expenses have been expenditured. We still have a month and a half left for the fiscal year to collect the remaining revenues. So that 455 was projected in here balance with leaving the 100,000 reserves of roughly, we were assuming a $555,000 carryover for the year. So that's at the end of the fiscal year with all revenue and expense projections in place.
So if we looked at the carryover today, what was in there today?
I'd have to look real quick.
Do you know what was in there last week?
I don't look at it from day to day unless I'm asked.
What was in there when we had our budget retreat?
I don't know what the number was. Okay, I was talking off of projections for the year end.
Do we have a representative that can speak from the tourism? We have to do up some of these questions and say we are authorized to speak.
Well, certainly, but I don't know that he needs to speak. That, you know, what I think that in the spirit of trying to do what some in the council want to do, I would say that if we're nervous in the least about this 455 number today, and we come up with a number that we're more assured with, let's say, 395,000, and then in 2 months we give the additional 56,000.
But the reason I was asking, okay, so July 1st is just around the corner, and so my question is, what's the urgency of today? We're saying that we're going to transfer the money, and it was my understanding that from the 455 or whatever that number was at the budget retreat, we were minusing when we were purchasing items. So, do we want to give you 455 and that you purchase the small animal pens, or are we going to purchase them? Those are the kind of questions I had. What is the urgency of today? Are there actually items that we spending all this time on that we have to have this transfer right now?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized? If we're going to transfer right now, would we not have to amend last year's budget?
Yes, we have to amend the fiscal year 24 budget.
Okay, I just want to clarify because it's been appropriated. I mean, the budget and appropriate two different things with municipal county, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you're talking about amending 23?
Well, I'm just saying, I think they misunderstand it, and, you know, this is one of the reasons why we probably don't need to rush it, pass this budget tonight, because there's questions out there. We were talking about the 2025 budget. That's what we were doing at the retreat. And it's just a misunderstanding, because we're doing a whole lot, and it's just a
Because this
misunderstanding.
is money that's set in carryover, not money that's budgeted for next year.
But, you know, once again, we were at the retreat talking about 2025. Does tourism need the money today, or can they wait, you know, an additional 30 days? We're gonna give you the money.
Yeah.
My understanding is that it's projected carryover, though, it's not like a total. Am I correct on that? Because of the way that's from last year's budget projected carryover, or from your month to month? Is that carryover, does that number move every month?
It moves up, yes.
Okay, that's what I just want to get clarified.
Yes, so right now, it's probably lower than that amount, but we're getting money, we still have money to collect in June, until May, June, and July.
So there's carryover that's there to move, if we needed to, we would just need to know what that number is, and we would move that. Okay.
And so,
But once again, can I ask, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up. I just would like to know from tourism, if they need the money, we need to make the adjustments, whether that be a motion to the 23 budget. And that was, you know, one of my questions. We want to give them, you know, whatever they need, but if you need it, we need to probably just stop wasting time and do an amendment so we can get what they need.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
So I believe that if we can receive that full 455 like originally discussed, July 1st, all those projects that I know Marlon outlined and those series of council lunches should be able to be completed as planned.
Thank you. So you want us to purchase this pins, or is that something that you guys can work out with
Those
livestock shows and so forth?
The pins were not part of that 455 that Marlon had projects on, so
We're going to purchase the pins in the fall.
With the special
Okay.
propose that with the special project funds versus paying back to tourism.
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs.
so if I may, I
Yes,
think an appropriate motion to accomplish what you just said is for the council to amend the budget to not purchase the small animal pens and to transfer the 455 as part of this budget amendment on July 1.
Yes, sir.
Second.
I'm sorry, who motion? Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melody Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick King.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We do have a little bit more to cover in our budget. And again, I'm excited about the opportunities that we have working with our partners in economic development, tourism, and across the city to make our city better moving forward. Our capital outlay budget, and we've talked about how we have a lot more needs than we have money. Some of our highlights, again, the capital outlay budget's on page 132 in your book. Again, a high priority for facility maintenance, higher than we've done in the past. We're looking at some new equipment for the Swim and Fitness Center, so we opened a new building. We have some new equipment as well to make us proud of that facility. Councilor Stout asked us to review in a little bit more detail our special projects fund from our current year. A reminder, the special projects fund is funded in November out of carryover from the previous year. And so this is why it says FY24 on it, because these are all budgets, numbers that were approved by the council. We don't have money to appropriate in the special projects fund at this time of year. But these are current projects. Some of them already have the money out the door, like the employee stipend, the half-box equipment. We've got the roof projects in progress right now. We've talked about the swim and fitness remodel and the facilities money and improvements at the parks. We even saw some of that money in the purchasing committee today. Stormwater fund was one that we wanted to highlight more than we have in the past. We do have that extra 10 cents in this budget, that's $6,196,671.10. So our big projects this year, we'll be working on the Honor Heights Spillway. You see there on the west side, Country Club and Shawnee drainage issues, and then the Smith Ferry Hilldale project related to the detention ponds and the street projects out there. So those are our big stormwater issues. Again, our stormwater projects are generally related on safety of human life, and then property damage. We try to make sure that we're able to keep people safe with our stormwater money. We do have other funds, including the park development and airport, and some others that are budgeted with no subsidy. We do have our MMA budget, which is funded from water and sewer revenue. It's on page 171 in your budget book. $3 million in new money set aside for capital projects and equipment. A big chunk of that just for the water plant improvements. And you see the water leak and sewer contracts that we talked about earlier. They're funded again through this budget next year. Page 182 is our MRA budget. It's primarily alcohol sales. And the revenue then transferred to the Civic Center as part of their budget. Muskogee Parking Authority is part of our book, page 187. They own and maintain parking lots around downtown. And so as we get to our budget review, I know you wanted to hear me talk about it, but I'm going to water it down. It's a tough year for the general fund. Anything we add and something else that we need to subtract. The staff has done a lot of hard work to get us to this point, but we have been able to meet a lot of our strategic initiatives through dedicated sales tax, through increased hotel motel tax for tourism, through the dedicated sales tax and the foundation match and the CIP for our street projects we've heard so much about, and through our water and sewer infrastructure through the MMA, including more than $10 million for street projects, the new sewer plant, increased funding for water quality and water line replacements, facilities maintenance, capital budgets, both increased dramatically. Record funding for economic development continues. Housing incentives, we're going to revise that number downward, but we still have money for housing incentives based off the amendment. The tourism funding has increased and our public safety priorities were addressed, all while we're doing all these major projects, which we're really excited about. It's unprecedented work that this council is doing, and I'm very proud of it. And so our next steps are to consider the budget at the public hearing for possible adoption today. That is the end of my presentation and the end of our discussion. I'm certainly happy to answer any further questions before we move on to further agenda items or other questions related to our budget. The hundreds of pages that you have before you, the hours and hours that the council has spent on this in the retreat and preparing for today, and the staff has as well.
What is the deadline that we have to pass this budget by?
It is in June, so we are trying to pass it a little bit earlier than usual due to some other projects that we're working on. But we have had a large amount of time that the council has given us input in presenting what the council told us to do on the retreat.
If I may ask that we hold off until the city council meeting for the end of the month. There were some questions that I had with some of my colleagues on today. I don't know that we are, if we're not at that rush, I don't know if it's, we heard anything if we wait till the 20 whatever meeting. What's that date, Sam?
It's a special call. We don't have a meeting.
So what's the city council meeting?
We don't have one.
Oh,
It's a holiday.
That was part of why we were wanting to have it for consideration today, is that our fourth Monday that we usually have a meeting is a holiday, and so we don't have this. We don't have a regularly scheduled meeting at the end of the day.
I've been on the council where we met the night before, the morning before the deadline. So I think we have to do a special call just to make everybody know.
I'd rather do it the 1st of June. Get our answers.
So we do have a special call meeting on May 20th. That is an option. It's up to the council when and where. I would encourage you to, any questions that you may have, please get them to me as soon as possible so we can work through them, because we're very happy to. We want to make sure you're comfortable with anything and everything as you move forward on this important decision. I'm not aware of very many of the questions that are unanswered at this time, because we've tried diligently through the process at the retreat and since then, through interactions with many of you to address a whole lot of the questions. I understand there may still be more, and we're happy to address those.
I wonder if it might not be appealing to move this vote to our next special call meeting. I know, and here's part of the deal, is we have some big things coming up that follow that meeting, and we need to be solely focused on it. My hope is we could get everyone's questions answered within 7 days, other than within 14 days. And if that would be agreeable to the folks that have questions, I would bet that the manager and staff could get questions answered post-haste.
I just think that would be respectful. We have some members that just, took their seats tonight. So, 7 days, without the first meeting, they come in approving the budget. Anything is workable.
Okay.
That's me.
Is that something that could be acceptable to everybody, is to get answers out within the next 7 days? And so I'm going to expect that the council will provide their questions to be answered specifically tomorrow morning. As soon as possible. The sooner you provide your questions, the sooner the manager and staff can provide the answers. Do we need to make a motion for that?
So, item number 1 is just holding the public hearing. I would suggest that we would table item number 2 to a date certain.
Okay, yeah. Are we wrapped up? I guess we are. Anybody have anything else to say? Okay. We didn't have any citizens who had signed up to speak. We will now close the public hearing. And I guess we need a roll call for that?
Yeah.
No action taken on that? Okay.
And you have to do what striking, what did you say?
So I would suggest that we consider, let me say this. I would take the direction from staff from item number 1 to prepare revisions for you to consider for item number 2 at the special call meeting on May 20th.
So do we need to make a motion to that as council? The council needs to make a motion to that?
So, yes, we need a motion to table number 2 until the special call meeting of May 20th.
So when we go to item 2, then we can do it. Okay.
And before we do that, I'd like to give a special thanks to staff. I know how hard they've worked on this. I know how hard the manager has worked on this. I know that we're kind of crunched for time this particular year and with some of the things we have going. So I think everybody's done a great job of trying to stay on top of things, and I really, really appreciate that. And I naturally also appreciate staff taking the time to answer the various council members' questions and make sure that we give satisfactory answers to those. So thank you, everybody. Okay, item number 2, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2989, approving the City of Muskogee budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, establishing budget amendment authority, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, we have the resolution attached reflects the discussions that we just had. We do propose that we table this item until May 20th, special call meeting of the City Council.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Melanie Cranford,
Yes.
C.B. Abel,
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery,
Yes.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Jamie Stout, Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Yes. Motion passes. Item number 3, please.
Discuss and take appropriate action to rescind the motion made at the city council meeting on April 30, 2024, relating to the purchase of cattle ties through the Muskogee Tourism Authority, MTA, and repayment to the MTA from the Special Project Fund, or take other necessary action.
Jamie, down hall.
After we discuss it, do we need to re-vote on it again? So I just need to move that this item be stricken.
Rescind the motion.
Okay. I make a motion, we strike this item from the agenda.
Okay, do we have a?
No, strike it.
Yes.
We've already voted on
Do we have a second?
If he just withdraw, do we have to vote on it? The action's already been taken to remove it to remove the cattle.
Prior,
it. Yeah, we did it.
But if you all want to vote on it again, it doesn't do any harm. If you don't want to vote on it, it doesn't matter either way.
So no action is needed?
No action is needed, but if you all want to vote on it.
I think if no action's needed, no action's needed.
Okay.
Item number 4.
Receive report on the appointment of Mayor W. Patrick Hale to the Economic Development Advisory Board, or take other necessary action.
Okay, this is an appointment for the mayor to the Economic Development Board, Advisory Board, and I believe that the mayor is a permanent fixture on that particular board, or almost a permanent fixture.
Yes, and this is, pardon me, sir, this is just an acknowledgement of what's in the ordinance. We just need an agenda item to acknowledge.
Thank you. Have a motion?
No, we don't need one.
Just an action.
Just telling everybody you're official.
Okay, item number 5.
Discuss and consider approval of the appointment of Counselor Jamie Stout and Counselor Tracy Goose to the Economic Development Advisory Committee, or take other necessary action.
Okay, and I suppose this is the same thing. But we do need a vote? Okay, well, I guess we need an approval of the appointment.
Move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Melanie Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Goose.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Yes. Okay. Okay, special call for the Muskogee Parking Authority, May 13, 2024. Roll call, please.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Here.
Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Jamie Stout. Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Here.
C.B. Abel.
Here.
Melanie Cranford.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Tom Martindale.
Here.
Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Muskogee Parking Authority minutes of May the 22nd, 2023, or take other necessary action.
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tom Martindale.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
I was not ready for that one. So, I had a question before I approve the vote on this. I'm sorry, guys.
Go ahead.
So, I noticed on all, and I'm a little slow again, Mike, I'm sorry.
No problem.
On section 1, 2, 3, on all of these, it says, and I just need to explain, that the city council authorizes you to move money from account to account without asking our approval or letting us know about it. Is that on everything that we vote on?
Yes, that's part of the budget language. I do send you every week, every budget transfer that we do. It's set in the Friday report.
So there is a trail of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I'm good now.
Okay.
Yes.
Melanie Cranford.
Yes.
C.B. Abel.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Goose.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Yes. And motion passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2991, adopting the Muskogee Parking Authority budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, establishing budget amendment authority, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
I would suggest, due to our earlier action, that we strike this item for future consideration at a future date. Not to table this, not to table it, but to not take action on this and consider it at a future date.
Okay. No. Okay, no actions needed. Okay. No, okay. The special call for the Muskogee Municipal Authority has been canceled, and it is rescheduled for May 20th at 4:30. Now we will go to the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, May 13th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Mayor Patrick Hale.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Jared Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Here.
C.B. Abel.
Here.
Melody Cranford.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Tom Martindale.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of resolution number 2992, adopting the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, establishing budget amendment authority, or take other necessary action.
Again, based off of our previous action, I recommend no action on this item, and we'll consider it at an appropriate time in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay, meeting adjourned.